Okay, good night of Shabbos. We're up to Samech Zayin Amid Beis. I'm about Chov on a story, the story with Rabbi Yobach and Rosh Hashiva. We were discussing yesterday that a person, he asked the Kasha, based upon a Bryce on Rabbi Yochanan, he wanted to ask the Tiyufta, and Rabbi's comment was, you don't know how to learn Pshat in the Bryce, and you're asking a Tiyufta. So to that end, Rabbi Yobach told Rosh Hashiva once, Chava Kasha of Taisvis. So Shiva said, "You have a kasha on Taisvis?" He goes, "Yeah." So he goes, "Does you learn Taisvis 40, 60 Mal? Did you learn Taisvis 40 or 60 times?" So he said, "No." He goes, "Fifth Mal at the Gazan Taisvis, Galen Taisvis." He goes, "Trade Mal, 3 Mal." He goes, "Galen Taisvis, 3 and 3 Mal. Und du was a kasha of Taisvis?" So he said, "No." He goes, "Ich verstehe nicht Taisvis." So Shiva said, "Oh, you don't understand Taisus. That's different than having a kasha on Taisus." But very geshmakalima. Okay, anyway, we're up to Samech Zayin Amid Beis. Samech Zayin Amid Beis. We're at the 2 dots, about 8 lines to the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines to the bottom, and discussing in Yonei Eruv. Hahu Yenuka the Shtapich Chamima. There was again, they used to go ahead. We had some pericles of the Mila. They would heat up water for the purpose of for the rachanimel, for the child. So this is before the Mila, and what happened was they had the hot water, but unfortunately for them, the water spilled. So Amalu Rabba said, "Rabba, Nesile Chamimi Migoy Baisoy, bring the hot water from my house." They were in a mavoi, and he said, bring it from my house to the chutzah to the mavoi. So Amalu Abai said, "Arvinon, we can't bring it from the house. We don't even make an eruv. We can't bring it to the chutzah." So Amalu Nismecha Shituf. You can be samich on the shituf that we made a shituf from a voice. We're going to see later on that would help in lieu of an erev would help to make a shituf from a voice, which is again the chatzeres going ahead and be ma'arev in the mavoi. Amalei. So Abaya said, "Halei shatfinan." You are mishtatev either. So erev chatzeres mahavnish, shituf from a voice mahavnish. We don't have either one. So said Rabba. So name her leila nachri. Go tell a guy leisile to bring it. Amar Abaya. Boile Suvi Lamar. I said I wanted to ask Gemara, I wanted to ask Rabba. However, Rabbi Shofkan, Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef didn't let me. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Amar Rav Kahana, Kiavina Bei Rav Yehuda. When I was in Yeshiva Rav Yehuda, Rabbi Yomlan told us the following rule: B'daraisa, if it's a shaila on an action of a daraisa, Moisvinan to Yufta. First, you ask your question, and then B'hadavinan, you go ahead, Maisa, you go ahead and do the action. B'drabanan, if it's din drabanan, like in this case, carrying a mavoi. Avdina Maisa, you're carrying the mavoi, then Bahadam Asrina to Yufta. Then you ask it afterwards. So Amalei, my boy is Lesu. Wait, because why do you want to ask him? No, on his actions, bringing the water, having the guy bring the water. Apparently, there's nothing wrong with that. So Amalei, the Tanya says, Abayi, here's my question. It says, Hazor Shvus, sprinkling the paraduma on a person on Shabbos is a din drabanan. In other words, it's kintikin mana. We say one of the dini daraisa is going ahead and fixing the kli, like makav or patish, going ahead and striking the final blow. You can't separate truma on Shabbos because you're going ahead and you're metakin tevel, you're metakin it. So you can't go ahead and sprinkle paraduma on a person the 7th day because you're being metakin the person from his tumas mace. So you can't do that. It's a shvus. You can't do it on Shabbos. V'amir l'nachri shvus and amir is l'nachri shvus. So you see, you're not able to go ahead and do tikkun mana because it's asa d'Rabbanan. So why in the world? Why can you go ahead and tell a nachri? Ma'azosh shvus ve'nedoiches Shabbos. Afamil nachri shvus ve'nedoiches Shabbos. That was my kasha. So apparently amir nachri shouldn't work. So Amalei. So he said to him, "Leishoncha bein shvus the ispei ma'isa l'shvus the lespei ma'isa." There's not a difference between the deraisa and the Rabbanan. Deraisa, you're right, and real nachri is also. But when it comes to shvus, which is carrying the mavoi, a shvus will be permitted. So therefore, it's not a question. Skip the next few words. Amalei Rabba Bar Chanel Abaya. Muvo the ispei trei gavri ravi k'Rabbanan like lahavi bei like erev like shituf. In other words, the halacha part of the sugya we have an answer to. It's a din d'Rabbanan. It's a shvus. Rabba was, of course, correct in his way to sell the guy should go ahead in the mavli to bring the water for the baby. However, there's a different problem. I don't understand. How do you end up in such a scenario where there was no Erev Chatzelis and there was no Shituf from voice? 2 Gava Rabba, Baya the Rabba lived in this Chotzer connected to this mavli, and they didn't go ahead on and be mishtatev or ma'ariv. What's going on over here? So it comes out very practical. It's just very interesting. Amalei Abai said, "My Nevid, what could we do? Mar lav urcha. It's not the derech of Rabbi, the master. It's not lefi kvoidoi to go over to the mavoi to collect the shituf. I read the bigger soy. I'm busy learning. Rabbi wasn't busy learning. I don't understand. I know to read the bigger soy. I'm busy bigger soy. I guess even if he wasn't busy learning, it wasn't lefi kvoidoi. That's what you have to say. But me, I guess lefi kvoidoi for Rabbi to collect the shituf. However, he was busy learning. Inu, the rest of the people in mavoi, they don't seem to care. So therefore, we're stuck. Okay, here's an eitzah. I'll go ahead. I'll take the bread. It's not a big tirda. It'll be in my house. I'll be mezaka for everybody. So I can go back to learning. It's not a big Rabbi's cover. Rabbi didn't go ahead and do anything. So therefore, that would be a great eitzah that we would have a sheet of mavais and everything would work. The inactivate pita besala. However, if I go ahead and be makna the bread in the basket, even the boy if they'd ask it from me, and and I won't be able to give it to them. Bottle shituf. The shituf will be bottled. The halacha is when you go ahead and put a shituf in my voice, it has to be something that is given over. It can't be that you would retract. See, the buyer was so poor, if they would go ahead and put the bread there, be mizaka for them. If they would ask him for the bread, he'd have to retract. A retraction on the bread, that's not a shituf. It's not a good shituf in my voice. So therefore, practically, that's also not an eitzah. So it explains why there was no sheet of voice over here, either because of the cover of Rav, because of Baya's learning, and because of the failure, the inability to go ahead and be makna something that he would have to retract on. So Gemara has an eitzah. Let's do something you don't have to retract on. The Tanya, right? And one person who this is just going to. I'm sorry. This goes to this the proof that you can't retract. Go ahead, take a barrel of wine, take a barrel of vinegar, and go ahead and say, in this barrel, there will be a chelik for sheet of mavois. This is a shtickle like a breira. In other words, we'll go ahead and we'll use the barrel, and whatever's left over, a certain amount, that will be, that will be for sheet of mavois. And therefore, you can't retract upon that because the barrel is there already. It's not like they're asking me for bread that I have to eat now. So l'chayra, you have an eitzah to go ahead and have a sheet of mavois. Tanya, a mishtatif b'eitzah. You can't go ahead and mishtatif with something that is stored away. You can't be mishtatif with something that's stored away. Let's see Rashi over here. A mishtatif b'eitzah, b'dava ha'otzer, something that is stored. Kigon, chavya shal yayin, or peiros hamachunasim, or you gathered peiros, fruits. You can't be soimech on the fruit being stored wherever it is and the barrel of wine. Mishum, says Rashi, this is Rashi Shita, Mishum de ein breira, eze shel shituf. In the barrel, it's not clear. In the storage of the fruit, it's not clear which of the wine or which of the fruit are for the shituf of voice. Since we're mesupik, there is to say, azolei shituf. In other words, if you would hold yesh breira, then you would say, when you get to the point of needing it, you'd say, oh, this mazon shtei sudos that are in this barrel, that all along was the sheet of voice. Mashenkin, if you hold ein breira, could be that the part that was the sheet of voice is gone already. So therefore, a buyer did not have an eitzah to go ahead, take a barrel or peiros mechunasim and say that should be for the shituf because we hold ein breira. Furthermore, Tanya mishtatfin. We hold that you could do mishtatif with an oitzer, apparently yesh breira. So I'm Rabbi Shia like Kasha, Habei Shammai, Habei Hillel. One's according to Beis Shammai, one's according to Beis Hillel. The brisa that says what ein mishtafim beoitzer, that ein breira, that's Beis Shammai. The one that says what yesh breira, apparently that's Beis Hillel. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and bring in a very, very interesting case, which I have to go ahead and pause. So we're suggesting that these two, the brises, where you can go ahead and use the stored fruit or wine as a means of a shituf, apparently dependent upon whether you say breira or not. And we want to say it's machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. So there's the cases over here. This is under discussion is the following. You have a house, there's a mace in this house, and all the doors are closed. You have windows that are 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, you have kalim 1, 2, 3, 4. You're in this house. The halacha Moshe Sinai states that these kalim are atame. These kalim, even though they're not in the oil, notice they're not in the oil of the house. They're recessed over here. They're not in the oil of the house. They would be tamei. It's halacha Moshe Sinai. Until you figure out which door you're going to go out. When you figure which door you're going to go out, then it changes the status. And that's what the discussion we're going to have right now, Bez Hashem, based upon that photograph. Back in the Gemara, says, so where do we see this? Machlokes Beishan Beis Hillel, that Nan. It's a mission in Oilers, the 7th parak in Oilers. Hameis bebayis, you have a mace in the house, V'loi psachim harbe, and that mace, there in the house there are many openings, many doors. Kulan tameim, all the kalim that are in on the lintel of that door are tamei. Niftach ech mehem, open one of the doors where you're going to take the mace out, obviously. Hu tamei v'kulan tahirim. The tamei and the rest are tar. That one that you're going to take the mace out, it's tamei. The rest are tar. Chishev lahoitzi be'ech mehem. If you even thought about bringing out one of them, or through the window, sheyesh by arba al arba, 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim, matzel is called a psuchim kulot. Matzel, it saves all the psuchim. That's provided he thought about it before he died. Once he thought about it after the death, it's too late. Even when the mace died already, you're able to go ahead and take it out. So Rashi explains beautifully. Let's see Rashi. Since the Goisis is still alive, as of yet, it has not descended upon all the lintels, the places, and the windows, Tumah yet. And now I'm thinking I'm going to take it out the door in the north, even though it's not open yet. That thought would go ahead and save everything in the south, the west, and the east. Because I said I'm going to take it out in the north. But that's provided you thought about it before the mace died. Aval Mashiach mace, it's right. In other words, Brera would say, when I go out that door, it's Huvra Hadava when the mace was still alive, that I always going to go out that door. Therefore, all the other doors should be tahar. We don't say that because we hold Ein Brera according to Beis Shammai. Where on the other hand, Beis Hillel says no. Beis Hillel says that what? That even it would save, even if they were on when the mace died. Why? We'll say when you said you're going to take it out in the north, when the mace was alive, that you're going to take it out that door and yesh brera. So therefore, the same thing over here. The oitzer that you can't go ahead and say should be for the area goes according to Beis Shammai, who sells the brera. And the one that says shituf that you could go ahead and use an oitzer, that goes according to Beis Hillel. Now that apparently is the Gemara, and then they begin a new case. But we didn't get to the bottom line over here, like Abaya. So obviously Abaya, but he also Beis Shammai. In other words, we're looking for an eitzah. Why didn't Abaya make a sheet of voice over here? So the conclusion is that he couldn't make it because he couldn't use a stored wine or stored fruit. That only is according to Beis Shammai. So you want to say Abaya holds like Beis Shammai? We had Daf Gimel here in this Masechta. We hold like Beis Hillel. So we have shot in the Gemara, but we don't have the conclusion of the Gemara as to why Abaya did not make a sheet of voice. So take a look at Taisvis. Taisvis, the fourth Taisvis down. Tanya, Ein Mishtafim B'Oitzeh. Then Taimar, Abaya Beis Shammai? Abaya is going to hold Beis Shammai? The Beis Shammai Masikla. In the conclusion of the Gemara, like I just explained, we're coming out Ein Brera only according to Beis Shammai that it's not allowed you to use fruit that is stored because Ein Brera, because you don't know in the barrel which one it is. The Yesh Leimer, the Abaya Lechoshev the Kamar of Oishia, Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel. He doesn't like the teretz. He doesn't go into Brera at all. Ukasar Abaya Leinechlu Beis Shammai Beis Hillel b'Davizeh. They're not arguing Brera. The Kama plucked at the Tanoi B'Amaroi Ashkelon in Brera. We hold many Tanoim in Brera. In other words, there's another pshat in this Gemara to say Machloikis is speaking the Kama Haba in the future where you're going to take it out from, and it's not speaking about Brera at all, which would very meduyik why the Gemara doesn't bring in the whole sugya of Brera of Hayay and Lachem and Akutim, or we had earlier in Masechta. You're going to go to the right or to the left. I'm going to go this way or that way, and I want Ben Hashmashas that my area should be over there. It's mashma, that's not a Brera Deginyan. So the way I would learn parts like this, according to Rashi, it's a sugya of Brera. Good. Why isn't it a kasha on Abaya? in conclusion, because Abaye doesn't hold that. There's another way to learn Pshat in the Machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, which has nothing to do with Breira, and therefore what? He didn't hold of Rav Yoshi's kasha that is Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. He doesn't hold it at all. It had no shaykhs whatsoever to zicha. The question of Shita Mevois is a shayla of Breira. That is a shayla of Breira. Whether we say Lima Freya, that wasn't Shtei Sudois in the barrel that I needed for Shita Mevois. But you want Sushtel to Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, Rabbi Yeshua Abaye doesn't hold from it. The Mela, it's not Shver and Abaye. And the Mela can't say he didn't hold that what? It's a possibility of making this Shita from a voice, and therefore he didn't. Next case, more babies with hot water. Says the Gemara. Hahu Yanuka, the water spilled again. Amalahu Rava, the Shaila Le'ime, ask the mother, eat sricha, if she needs it, then Nachma Nachri Agav Ime. Let the Nachri cook, and this is even a bigger chiddush because you're doing it in deraisa. You're being on bishul. Let it cook up water enough for the baby and add on a little more for the mom. What are you cooking for the mother? The mother is healthy. What's the raya? She's eating dates which are cold. If she's eating cold dates, obviously she doesn't not need the heat of the water. So I don't have to ask because the mother clearly doesn't need it. Some lay Rabbi said no. Tenuva ba'alma hudinakala. Maybe she got a tenuva. Maybe she got a shudder or something. Maybe she got wasn't coherent and she wasn't even aware. But maybe Shtaka really is in need of the water. So go ahead and ask her. Third case of spilled water. Ahu yanuka dishtapit chamime. You spilled the hot water for the baby. Amalu Rava said, Panuli mani mi begavri lebe nashi. If you take a look on the page, Rashi brings a picture. You have the women go all the way to the right. It says Bei Nashe. These are where the woman would stay. Out snios, they would stay there in the back rooms. Right in front of it is Bei Gave. That's where Rava would sit. You have the opening of the house. Then you have what? You have hot water. Then you have a chutzner, and then you have the house that the cotton was in. So they spilled the water in the house of the cotton. We have to get the hot water over there. So there was no Erev made. So if Rava would be mevatel his rishus, then it would be one rishus, and the people in the house where the cotton was would be able to take the hot water from Rava's house because it's one rishus. Okay, why did Rava say to go ahead and okay, now, what did Rava do? Rava said, put my kalim from my Bei Gavre where I sat and put them by the woman, and I'll go sit by the woman. He was worried he may forget that no longer does he have rishus, and he may carry the kalim into the chutzner. So to avoid that, Rabbi said, let me go to sit in the Ezras Nashim. Let me go sit in the women's section. Okay, so that's his Eitzah, says the Gemara. So, Amalu Rava, Ponuli Manai Bei Gavri Lebei Nashe. Go ahead, take my kalim, bring it out where I'm sitting from the men's section to the women's section in the back of the house. In our diagram to the east. The Ozl the Yasif Hasan, I'll go sit in the east. The Batal Chutzner, I'll then be Batal Chutzner, and then the Bnei Cotton all the way to the west can come in the picture, can come and take the Chamim, which is in the middle, and bring it over there. No problem, because it's only one Rishus, and you don't need an Erev. Amalei Ravina L'Rava, V'Ama Shmuel, Ein Bittul Rishus Mechatz L'Chutzner. We had a whole sugya yesterday. The whole din of Bittul is what? Is in one Chutzner. Here is two separate Chatzeros. Right? How can you go ahead and be invited one to the other? Says the Gemara, Amalei, I'm not Rabbi Yochanan Svirle. We saw about Plukta to Shmuel. Rabbi Yochanan held that what? That it's possible to go ahead and invite Mechatz L'Chutzner. We had the sugya two side by side, one in front, one in the back. Okay, he held it all, even side by side, where you had access to Rishus Rabbim, and even though you could make an area between each other in the middle, nonetheless, Rabbi Yochanan said, Mevatel Mechatz L'Chutzner, you can be Mevatel. So I hold like Rabbi Yochanan. So says Rabbi, I'm a battle my rishus, mechatz l'chatz, take the water for the baby from my rishus to over there. It's the Amar Yesh Bittul mechatz l'chatz. Now, the Eloi Savul Amar Kishmuel, if you don't hold a meval mechatz l'chatz, I have a problem. I'm going to introduce something else. What is that? Amid days. Niyasev mar beduchte. So why don't you go ahead and sit in your place? Unevatel lehu lididhu, be mevatel them. Pirish. How many times can you be mevatel? In other words, Let's say I and David Sass, we're sitting in our two houses. We have two chatzerim in between, and all of a sudden I forgot I need something. So I said, David, do me a favor, be mevatel yours. So he's mevatel. I go take it. Bing. David says, 1 second, Uncle Laser, I forgot something. Don't worry, I'll be mevatel. In other words, mevatlin v'chayzru mevatlin. So good. Rav holds mevatlin v'chayzru mevatlin, and Shmuel holds ein chayzru mevatlin mevatlin. Right? We want to say that this sugya of whether you can go ahead and be mevatel once and twice depends upon being mevatel from one chatzah to another chatzah. In other words, since I'm mevatel once, no longer am I a part of this chatzah. Since I'm mevatel once, and therefore ain't mevatel mechatzah l'chatzah because I'm no longer here. So if I'm no longer here, I can't be chayzer mevatlin. You can't go back and forth. So you just told me the following. You told me that you went back to the women's section because you were worried that you're going to bring kalim from your into the chutzner. If you hold like Rabbi Yochanan, if you like Rabbi Yochanan that you could be mevatel one chutzner to another chutzner, you must also hold that mevatlin v'choyzer mevatlin. So being mevatel your rishus to let the father of the baby take the water there, you don't have to move back. Then let him be mevatel back to you, his rishus, and then you'll have rights, right? Mevatlin v'choyzer mevatlin. I'm mevatel, David Sass is mevatel. So therefore, the father of the baby that needed the water, let him be mevatel his rishus. Now you're the baal of the chutzner, and you wouldn't have to move your kalim to the women's section because you'd be able to bring it out in the chutzner. Ella, when you don't hold that way, must be you hold like Shmuel. So it's a stira minei ubei. On one hand, you're holding like Rabbi Yochanan, that what? You move mevatel mechutzner l'chutzner. Conversely, you're holding like Shmuel when you move into the ladies section that you're not allowed to be mevatel after a previous bittul. So listen to the Lashon of Gemara again. If you don't hold like Shmuel that ein mevatlin chutz l'chutza, then you should hold mevatlin v'chayz mevatlin, and therefore niyaser mar beduchte. Don't go to the ladies section. Stay in your section. V'nevatel lehu lididhu. You mean mevatel to the guy who needs the water. V'nahadri inu. Then let the guy who needed the water return. And be mevatel rishus tamar, and you'll be able to sit there without going to the ladies section without a concern. You're going to take the kalim out from your rishus and bring it in. The Amarav mevatlin v'chayzim mevatlin, right? Says the obvious teretz. One has nothing to do with the other. Ana b'hakishmul svirulei. The Amar ein mevatlin v'chayzim mevatlin. I hold like Rabbi Yochanan in one case that you can be mevatlin b'chutz l'chatza, not like Shmuel. However, the machlokes Rabbi and Shmuel, whether you can do a second bittul, I hold like Shmuel. You can't do a second bittul. Therefore, I had to be mevatel. I had to bring my stuff into the ladies section. I'd be mevatel because there's no chance of the father of the baby who needed the water to be mevatel. Because again, you're not shaykh a second bittul. Fred the Gemara, aren't they dependent one upon the other? The lav chad taimuhu, is it not one reasoning? My time aim mevatlin b'chayzim mevatlin. What's the reason one cannot be mevatel a second time? Lav mishum, the kivin the batlei the rishusei, since he's mevatel his rishus, is stalik le mehacha legamre. He's removed completely. V'havilei kiben chotza acheres, and he's like a total person in another chotzer. Therefore, v'ein bittul rishus mechotza lechatzer. So, in other words, the svara of ein mevatlin chayz mevatlin is because once you leave, you're gone. Once I'm gone, I'm in another chotzer. And once I'm in a chutzner, ein mevalim b'chutz l'chutzner. So says the Gemara, how can you, Rav, go ahead and split the two? On one hand, it's holding like Rabbi Yochanan, mevalim b'chutz l'chutzner. On the other hand, ein mevalim b'chutz mevalim. If you hold you could be mevatel from chutz l'chutzner, you should be able to mevatel one after the other. Because again, the whole svara of being mevatel one after the other is I'm removing myself. If you're removing self, then you can't go back and be mevatel one to the other. But you Rava held that what? You could go ahead and be mevatel one from the other. So once you held you can mevatel one from the other, you must hold that chayzim mevatel. So there's no reason for you to go to the ladies section. You could have stayed in your section. That's the Gemara's kasha. And for the Gemara, no, it's not so possible. But that's not the reason. Mar nami loy nevatel. That's part of the kasha. Mar nami also nevatel. That you should be able to be mevatel. And the Gemara chasam hainu taima. What's the reason really mevatl mechatz lechatzer. What's the reason that I can be mevatl, David Sass can be mevatl? What's the reason that? Is the time where ki heichi del having milsid rabbanan ki chucha vitula. The whole svara is the words of the chacham shouldn't become a gelechta. They shouldn't become a joke. Yeah, I need the chatzar because I have to bring water in. Rabbi, do me a favor. Go in mevatl. Rabbi, I'm mevatl. Says Rabbi, you know what? I left the sefer. You have to go get the sefer. Do me a favor, Father of the Vlad. Can we mevatl? Give mevatl. So the whole idea is going to come a joke, a gelechta. So the reason chayzim vein mevatl has nothing to do with you being a chatzah acheres. It's not a chatzah acheres. Why? Because even if it's a chatzah acheres, your taka could be it could be mevatl mechatz l'chatzah. The reason why we don't allow you to do a second bittul is the words of the chacham should become a joke, like you're playing with Torah this way and that way. Okay, so therefore Rava was correct. Rava was always correct in doing what he did. Gufa, going back over the Gemara, the sugya of whether you can mevatl v'chayzim mevatl. So again, if you can mevatl chayzim mevatl, it's very interesting. You could have two people apparently at the same Shabbos, if they fail to make an Erev, would be able to go ahead and use the chatzar. First guy number one, then guy number two. That would be Rav. That I could mevatl when I needed it. Then I'd give it. Then David be mevatl his rishus to me, and then I'd be mevatl rishus to David, and therefore you're able to use it. However, like Shmuel in chayz mevatl, once David's mevatl rishus to me, he's finished for the Shabbos. Okay, once he returns to me, he's finished for the Shabbos. Gufa. So we're going back to that. Rav Amar mevatl b'chayz mevatlin, u'Shmuel Amar ein mevatl b'chayz mevatlin. Lema Rav Shmuel beplukted the Rabban of Rebbe Eliezer comiflically. Let's say Rav and Shmuel are arguing in the machlokes Rebbe Eliezer and Rabbanan. Now, who's Rebbe Eliezer and Rabbanan? We met the Rabbanan hold that if a person is mevatel his rishus, that no person has a right to his house. His house is the chutzner, and Rebbe Eliezer said no. If you mevatel the house, you mevatel your chutzner as well. Okay, if you mevatel the chutzner, you mevatel your house as well. Apparently, the chachamim hold, even when I give up my chutzner, I'm still retaining rights in the house. Rebbe Eliezer's mashma that you give up your chutzner, you give up your house, that you're completely gone. So therefore, let's say the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel depends upon this machlokes, right? Let's go through the machlokes. Like the Rabbanon who don't leave, right? Like the Rabbanon who hold you don't leave completely, but you're not mesalik. Therefore, they would hold what? Apparently that you can be chayzer. Mashen Kain, according to Rabbi Eliezer holds you leave completely, then you're like in a different chutzner, you're totally out, and you're out. Kufa, Rav Mevalim Chayz Mevalim, Shmuel Im Mevalim Chayz Mevalim. Lema Rav Shmuel put the Rabbanon of Eliezer Comifli. The Rav Damik Rabbanon. Rav holds like the Rabbanon that you still retain rights. In other words, I gave up my chutzner, I didn't give up my house. Since I gave him my house, I I still can be Chayz Mevatel because I'm still there. Mashen came with Shmuel Damik Rabbi Eliezer. Shmuel says Ein Chayz Mevatel. Why? Because since like Rabbi Eliezer, you give up your chutzner and you give up your house, you're totally out, and Ein Mevatel Chutzner Chutzner. You're not there anymore. So Amalach Ram, and says Ram, Anok Nam Yafil Rabbi Eliezer. Again, the Amoraim want to come out according to all Tanoim. They want to go ahead and say, I'm only according to one Tana. So the Gemara is going to show how Rav can be according to Rabbi Eliezer, and Shmuel can be according to Rabbanan. Says Rav, Anok Afil Rabbi Eliezer. I that hold Mevatlin B'chayzim Mevatlin can even hold like Rabbi Eliezer, who says you give up not only your chutzah, you give up your house as well. Ad kan like Rabbi Eliezer Hasam HaMevatl B'shus Chatzeroi B'shus Basically Bottle. You're giving up both. Mishum de bias beloy chutzah loy darian shi. You can't give up one without the other. In other words, when it comes to Hilchas Erev, in fact, a person has a house without a chutzah, that's this kind of house. Aval inyan is staluke, but regarding removing myself to go ahead and say that I'm totally gone, I'm not here, me Amar, there's a difference between a virtual giving up and a physical giving up. So halachically, I can give up, but to say that I'm totally not here, completely, like I don't own the house anymore, that you don't say. So says Rav, even in this case, Rabbi Eliezer would moida that mevatlin b'chayzim mevatlin since he's physically still there. And Shmuel Amar Anodam Yafil Rabbanon. Shmuel says ein chayzim mevatlin b'chayzim. You can't do it a second time. Could even hold like the Rabbanon who say you still retain rights in the house, meaning I'm still there. I can't like Rabbanon Chasam Ella my debatel udelay batel. I'm mevatel l'chatzar, I'm not mevatel my house. We don't say that a person is mevatel ba'ayin yafa according to the Chachamim. So just because I'm mevatel my chutzah does not mean I'm giving up my house. However, aval my debatel means istalik legami. Whatever I give up, I give up. Since I gave up my chutzner, I'm not here anymore, and therefore I can't go ahead and be mevatel a second time. Okay, so according to this, the machlekes Rabbi and Shmuel, whether mevatel is not contingent upon the machlekes Rabban and Rabbi Eliezer that when a person gives up his chutzner, whether he gives up his house or not. Initially, we wanted to say that Rav holds like the Chachamim, that a person does not give up everything, and therefore he cries mevatel. And like Rabbi Eliezer, a person does give up everything, and therefore like Shmuel that he can't do it. I'm saying no, either one can come out. That Rav can come out according to Rav can come out according to Rabbi Eliezer, and Shmuel can come out according to Rabban. Let's say whether you can be chayz and mevatel, in fact, is a machlokes tanoim. Mishenas and mishusai, a person is mevatel as rishus. They use lashon of nasam, but Rashi says it can be a person's mevatel as rishus. Now, so let's say in this scenario, me and David Sass and Benji and Harry Levenberg, we're all living in the same chutzner, right? And now I give up my rishus. What do? You see me then? I go ahead and I take Kalim out, I put him in the chutzner. So what am I showing you? I'm still here. So v'hoitzi bein b'shogeg bein b'mezid, whether I take them out b'mezid, whether I take them out b'shogeg, oyser. This will asa what on everybody else. This will be mevatel the fact that it's all your rishus. I'm showing bilas. I'm taking the stuff out. Divrei Meya. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer b'mezid oyser. If I do it b'mezid, it's aser. B'shogeg ein oyser. My lab b'hakan niflagi. Dimar sava Rabbi Meya holds mevatlin v'choyzer mevatlin. Since b'shogeg, if I take it out, I'm mevatel. It shows I still have bilas here. Since I can be mevatel, therefore I must be able to mevatel a second time. Masava ein mevatlin v'choyzer mevatlin. That once your oyser b'shogeg, it's mutter. It's still b'shogeg. If I take it out, it's still an erev. It's still a sheet of voice. It's still intact. It's because I don't have bilas here. If I don't have bilas here, I can't be mevatel. So let's say the machlokes between whether Rav and Shmuel, whether mevatel chayz mevatel, good. It's not a machlokes Rabbi Eliezer and the Chacham like we wanted to say. Let's suggest it's a machlokes Rabbi Meya and Rabbi Huda. Rabbi Meya would hold that mevatel chayz mevatel. Why? Because if I take out my kalim b'shogeg and I put it in, it shows that what I still have bilas because it's mevatel our shituf or erev chatzeros. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, that if I take it up with shogeg, it's not mevatel because I'm not here anymore. And therefore, a mevatel chayz mevatel, that would be like Shmuel. So let's say Rabbi Meir holds like Rav and Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Apparently, that's what the Gemara wants to say. Amar Rav Acha bar Tachlifish made the Rav Eloi. The Kuliyalma ein mevatel v'chayz mevatel. Everyone holds that. So what's shver? So why Rabbi Yehuda b'shogeg? Why in the world doesn't it aser? If everyone holds that ein mevatel chayz mevatel means I must not be here anymore. So why by shogeg should it be mevatel? It shows I still am here. Here we're calling this shogeg atamezid. In other words, everyone's moida b'mezid, even if you hold that ein mevatel chayz mevatel b'mezid, if I take it out, I show that I don't want to part this anymore. There was no kinyan made over here. No one bought it over here. I went back on the deal. By going out b'mezid, everyone holds. You went back on the deal. The whole machlokes between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim and Rabbi Yehuda was by shogeg. We wanted to be mochiach from shogeg whether mevatlin b'chos and mevatlin. That like Rabbi Meir, since b'shogeg it's usher, it shows I still have bilas here, and therefore I can be mevatel. And Rabbi Yehuda shogeg, it's not mevatel, so it shows I don't have bilas. So therefore, ein mevatlin b'chos and mevatlin. That was the havamina. The Teretz says no. Really, everyone holds you can't be mevatel a second time. I and David, I'm mevatel. David can't be mevatel. There's no two. I'm not doing that. That's a joke. The Chachamim said you can't do that. It's laughing on deriding the Chachamim. The reason why over here the shogeg, the machlokas between Rabbi and the Chachamim, is contingent upon the mezid. The mezid, everyone holds that you it will be mevatel. Rabbi Yehuda says once you go out, it asks the whole thing. Rashi tells us why. Rashi dibra maskal loy the kuliyalma in chayzon mevatlin is stalically because he's left. Ubedinhu b'shogeg loy chodrolei, and he should not be able to come back. El Rameya kona shogeg got to mezid. Uvemezid kula moida. Everyone is moida by mezid. The afagav this stalically, even though he's mevatel and he's leaving b'shus here. But if he goes b'mezid and puts his kalim out, Even the hodar, since he had charota by bringing his kalim into the chatzar, hodar, the holos avne, he didn't sell it. In other words, he didn't make a kinyan to really go ahead and remove himself. He virtually moved himself over here. By going ahead, benazid, and going ahead and sticking the kalim in there, right? Sticking the kalim in there before a little addendum, before the other people had a chance to stick their kalim there. We'll get to that, Bez Hashem, at Shabbos. But again, at this point in time, so therefore, like Reb Meir, we're going to show you about the mazid. Just like mazid, if you take out his kalim, it's mevatel the erev. So too b'shogeg, if he takes out his kalim, it's mevatel the erev, because he's geyser shogeg got to mazid. However, Rabbi Yehuda is not geyser shogeg got to mazid. Therefore, taka b'mazid, every once in a while you take it out, it's mevatel the erev. However, if you did it shogeg, we're not geyser got to mazid. Let's see it inside. Like the kuliyalma im mevatel mechoyz mevatlin. V'chochla b'knasa shogeg got to mazid kamiflagi. Masava Meir holds konsu shogeg got to mazid. Mazid, just like you take it out from the vatal the erev, so too shogeg. Well, Masava and Rabbi Yehuda holds loy konsu shogeg got to mazid. You're not konsu shogeg got to mazid. So it comes out that loy, this second opinion, Rav and Shmuel are not arguing in Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. So according to right now, the first piece of the Gemara, they're not arguing in Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanon. They're not arguing what in Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Ashi Yoma, going back to the first nafkamina, Rabbi Ashi Yoma, Rabbi Shmuel plucked the Eliezer Rabbanon kamiflagi. He taka held there was machloikis between Rabbi Shmuel of Chayz and Matlin is totally machloikis to Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbanon. Like Rabbi Eliezer, who says that when a person goes ahead and gives up his chatzar, he's going to give up his house also. He's totally masalik. That's Shmuel. Shmuel is like Rabbi Eliezer. Since he's totally gone, he can't come back. Light Rabbanan, that when a person gives up, he only is giving up his house, but not his own. He's giving up his chutzah, not the house. According to that, in fact, you could go ahead and be mevatel a second time. I wish you all a good Shabbos.